All right, we wanted to explain these documents that we posted for you guys. So if we look at the Federal Reserve System, down here we have the American people, that's us, right? We take our money and we put it in a bank. We call these member banks. So if you have Wells Fargo or Bank of America, SunTrust, any kind of credit union, right? These are the member banks. So these are our banks. The Fed is their bank, right? A bank still has to have a bank and they bank at the Fed. So there are 12 Federal Reserve banks. They're all over the United States, and each bank has kind of a region that they oversee. So there's 12 of these, and each one of these has a president. So Atlanta has a Federal Reserve Bank. It's in Midtown, and our president is Raphael Bostic. The Board of Governors is at the top. So the Board of Governors is 7 people. They are appointed by the president. The Senate has to confirm his appointments. But they are not necessarily politicians, and maybe they're ex-politicians. A lot of times they're economists. They're people that are very knowledgeable about the economy, which is why they're appointed to such an important position. Again, they are not part of the government, right? The Fed is an independent, private entity. They give advice to the government. They tell the government, hey, you might want to lean towards, expansionary policy right now, but they are not the government. So what happens is 8 times a year, the 7 members of the Board of Governors and 5 of the 12 Fed presidents will meet in what we call the FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee, okay? This is the organization that actually votes on monetary policy. So what they'll do is they'll send those members to a meeting. The members will come prepared with information from all 12 branches, and they will vote on monetary policy. Hey, we need to raise the interest rate, or we need to sell bonds, whatever is going on. So they'll vote 8 times a year on what to do. So that's the group that just recently had an emergency meeting because of what's going on right now and voted last week to drop those interest rates. Okay. If you look at this next document, this is the Fed districts. So you can see each little region is a bank district. So like Atlanta is District 6. That's where we live. So the one in Midtown actually controls all of these little blue states down here. You can see here, some of them are bigger than others. So a lot of this, when the Fed system was built and they opened the branches, was based on population. So you can see some areas are more populated than others, which is why like New York up here is real tiny. New England is tiny. Obviously Virginia and the Carolinas. So you can see all 12 districts here. Each district has a president. So they take turns on who gets to vote at the FOMC, except New York. New York is the exception. And the president of the New York Fed votes every time. He's the only one that goes to every single meeting. And that's because New York is kind of the financial capital. It's where the original national bank was. Obviously, it's where the stock market, the New York Stock Exchange is. So New York plays a heavy role in kind of what's happening with the economy. Just a little kind of fun fact here. Each Fed branch is numbered. So Atlanta is District 6. They're numbered in the order that they were created. So if you look at like a dollar bill, it will have a letter. So let's see, if we're bank 6, A, B, C, D, E, F, right? So F. So if you look at a dollar bill, if it came from Atlanta, it'll say F or have the number 6 on it. Usually it's like in a circle with the letter F. So those letters are associated with which of the 12 bank branches it's come from. So if you have any cash at home, if you look at it, you can use those letters to determine which Fed it actually was created at, right? Because the Fed is the one that controls the money, not the government. Okay. Just a little bit more here. Again, same thing. So we have our Federal Reserve banks who are kind of at the bottom, or our 12 banks that we have, not the member banks. And they work directly with the Board of Governors. So the 5 of the Federal Reserve Bank members meet up with the 7 Board of Governors, and they sit in that Federal Open Market Committee where they actually vote on policy. And Congress oversees the Board of Governors, right? They're the ones who help to approve or deny the president's request. But the Board of Governors is also going to get back to Congress and let them know, like, hey, this is what's going on with the economy. You should probably do something. Okay, so there's another little one here. So you can see the Fed is at the top. And the 3 key parts of it are the Board of Governors, the 12 banks, and the FOMC, right? And their key functions, they actually conduct monetary policy. So when we looked at those 4 tools in the other video, they actually decide what to do with those tools and how much, right? If they're going to change the reserve requirement, they're going to say from 10% to 10.5% or whatever it is. Help maintain the stability of the financial system, right? They're the ones making sure that we are meeting those 3 economic goals, right? Economic growth, price stability, and full employment, right? Supervising and regulating financial institutions, so they make sure that the banking system is actually doing what they're supposed to do. So they make sure that the banks are following the rules. That way we don't have another Great Depression. And this last one is really important, promoting consumer protection and community development. So when we talk about, I lost my document, sorry guys. When we talk about consumer protection, that's like in the Great Depression when people went to the bank and the bank was like, sorry, we loaned your money, we don't have anything for you. So now this is why we look at like FDIC insurance. So if anything were to happen, they are insuring our money and making sure that everything's okay. They also help to regulate things like check fraud, and counterfeit money and things like that.